Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for our speakers. So yeah, as Andrew said, we're going to talk about software-defined vehicles, one of the most transformative trend in the autos market. And let me start with you, Magnus. Mercedes has been vocal about wanting to be a leader in this era of software-defined vehicles. So do you want to talk a little bit about the strategy of Mercedes and how is it shaping the traditional OEM model?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, first of all. Yes, at Mercedes, we've always prided ourselves of having beautiful physical objects. It's been one of the brand and pride of the company. Now, software-defined vehicle makes it possible for us to not only have beautiful static objects, but really turn them into dynamic objects. Dynamic objects that can change over time, where you as a customer can configure it to your liking. We see that luxury is changing very much by having an individual need. You need to be able to tailor it to the audience in various regions of the market, age groups, and also cultural differences. And as a software-defined vehicle, you are really able to tailor it to individuals' needs, and it gives us direct feedback. The objects, our beautiful cars, are giving us the actual usage data, direct feedback. And this is a huge difference compared to the past, where something was designed several years ago and then put on the market. Now we can really measure usage rate at real time and adopt and change with the technology.
Thank you. Interesting. And Mercedes has been in the market for a long time. Ampere is a bit more new. Well, for a little bit of context, Ampere is part of Renault Group. Is the business dedicated to develop both electric vehicles and software-defined vehicles, and one of the goals of Ampere is to market next year the first software-defined vehicles. So Harry, how's this journey going?
It's been it's beautiful and painful at the same time, as you can imagine. So as you said, on Ampere, we're just 1.5 years old, and so this is the basic idea to put together an organization or an entity that is focused on making software for the company and also making electric vehicles, which is, as you can imagine, the synergy there. So it's been, like I said, a beautiful journey, and it's been a painful journey. And it's beautiful because every day there's a new lesson. There's a lesson that we gain every day. There's a new battle scar that we add, where we are 1 year away from our centralized architecture-based SDV. And so you can imagine we're probably one of the first in Europe to do that. And so we're very excited.
Great. And then about Hyundai, what's your strategy? And it's still early stage, right? Every automaker that is in this arena is in the early stages of developing and launching their software-defined vehicles. Are there some measurable, quantifiable metrics or returns for your consumers?
I mean, in general, I would start, I don't think the software-defined vehicle is that much of a new topic, right? I think we have also discussed this plenty of times. Many of essays have been created, many summaries, some with plenty of insights, some with banalities. But I think I would start with that as an OEM, you must not miss the point on the macro level. Meaning, what does it really mean to have a dynamic software production, software-driven business cases, and on the micro level, on really getting the details right and mastering the complexity which is behind those, let's say, data-driven, software-driven services. Our strategy is essentially built, I would say, on 5 pillars, on 5 dimensions, and moving. And it includes the why, the what, and the how. Very simple, right? But I think we are moving beyond just in-housing more software or putting more software into the vehicles. This is almost like inevitable that this is happening. But we have to look at the 5 dimensions holistically. On the one hand, this is the business model. I mean, as an industry, we are moving from the one-time car sales also to recurring revenues. On the second, it is the product architecture. From a dedicated component, single system type of approach to an architecture-driven API world. The third element is the tools, the processes, the methodologies, where it is also moving away from the one-time ride vehicle launch to, scalable technology, building blocks which are interoperable across multiple car lines, right? Even with backwards compatibility. And then, of course, it's the people, right? From technology managers and to really architects, software experts, with deep-rooted expertise in the different domains. And then, of course, the supply chain, which is changing. But the golden rule is, let's say, I think very simple. It is really, the technology is an enabler. It is more like coming from a use case, from the value add, and solving a problem previously unsolved. Then there is also the business case and the additional value add being created in the traditional cars. There are so many features we are not getting used. And this is one of our key KPIs, is that all the features and functionalities which we enable through software, that they have a high usage rate, right? And this means that customers like them. There is a positive net promoter score not only on the vehicle, but also on the additional features and services.
Okay, great. And in terms of technology, when we talk about technology innovation, AI always comes to mind, and it's definitely a hot topic. How AI plays into the software-defined vehicle era, and is AI unlocking some features that were not possible before?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I think whether we like it or not, and let's say an AI companion will probably be the first touch point, as OEMs we like to think about touch points in the different customer journeys. It will probably be the first touch point we have, whether this is booking an appointment at the dealership, whether this is booking a test drive, or whether this is interacting with the vehicle. But artificial intelligence, generative AI, large language models, of course, give so much room to learn, grow, and personalize. The use cases of AI are not necessarily surprising. It's about the smart cockpit, it's about the human-machine interface, it's about more personalized services. If you think about it, the vehicle has a lot of information. When I hit my car from Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., it knows exactly what I'm doing. I'm driving to the office. It also knows the real-time traffic situation, so it knows whether today it takes me 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes. The car also knows what I'm usually doing while I'm driving. It is linked to my calendar, so it knows whether I have to take a call already or whether I can listen to a podcast. It knows which podcast I'm usually listening to, whether it's technology, politics, lifestyle, whatever. So the vehicle can automatically suggest a proper podcast which I want to listen on my drive this morning to the office, knowing that it will take me 45 minutes and here is the podcast you need. And I think there's so much, let's say, room to personalize. I think if, let's imagine Magnus and I would buy a new Ioniq 9 in 1 year, beautiful car, don't worry. So the feature and the feature set and the head unit and the user interface may look exactly the same on day one. But since we might have different preferences, user patterns, and the way we utilize the system, the car will actually adapt its user interface, its UI, UX, to the consumer. So it's not the consumer adapting to the car, but the vehicle really adapting to the consumer, right? So this is this combination between personalization and ubiquity, which makes, let's say, AI in the software-defined vehicle so powerful.
Okay, and so you mentioned Magnus. Are you going to buy a Ioniq 5 or sticking with Mercedes? How is AI leveraged in Mercedes?
So if we look at the customer use case and how AI really impacts the customer, of course AI has tremendous potential also for efficiency and so forth, but I'm going to stick with what it means to the Mercedes-Benz users. And we believe the one revolutionary area where we completely are going to change how you are interacting and using your vehicle is how we communicate. You and I communicate with each other. In the new era of generative models, we're able to really break through here and create a completely different experience. So we've seen our usage rate jump 6 to 8 times now with our 3 million vehicles, which is already using the models that we are partnering both with Microsoft and with Google. So both the latest Gemini and the GPT versions that we have in the car makes it possible to have a natural conversation. So it really revolutionizes the way we're having these conversations. And we're seeing also the usage rates. It's not only about how to talk and ask questions about the vehicle, it's also general knowledge. Talking, having chats. I couldn't believe the data when I saw that the most used feature right now that we're having in the vehicle is actually they want to have a companion, they want to have a conversation. And with that conversation, just like a good assistant, you learn to understand what is the preferences of this individual. How can you tailor the services? How can you offer certain convenience features? So that is a major breakthrough, and that's going to change also how things are presented in our beautiful dashboards and the environment. So it really becomes a luxury experience tailored to you, your personal luxury, your personal assistant. Secondly, the breakthrough is happening especially in the automated driving space. We believe time is luxury, and we want to offer this luxury to our customers. If you're coming into a busy situation like in London, or if you are in China, driving can be a very strenuous task. It's a cognitive strenuous task. And with the new models, we can actually navigate through the streets of these urban environments, offloading that cognitive load to the driver, making that a luxury experience. So these are two primary examples where we're now at the forefront, delivering this technology with the first Westerner who's going to offer this urban assistance driving in China. And of course, we're the first one in the world who has now a level 3 system going to 95 kilometers an hour on the autobahns in Germany. So these are two primary examples on how AI is changing the behavior and the experience in the vehicles, in the Mercedes vehicles.
Oh, that's great. So AI, a lot of exciting stuff, but AI is only one layer of the whole software-defined vehicle. And you mentioned partnership. So I want to shift topic a little bit and talk about the core operating system that automakers are developing. And then, Henry, I know Ampere is partnering with Google, correct? And why did you decide to partner with Google? How the partnership is going, and what's the advantage of partnering with a big tech company like Google?
So the basic concept of the partnership with Google is really simple. So if you look at the foundational elements that we are partnering with Google on, it's the what we call the car OS, okay, the middleware layer, and we believe it should be a democracy in terms of availability of such systems to the industry. And again, it's based on open source, and so it's really the power of the community that can make things better and much more robust. So the partnership is they bring in their hyperscaler, their software capability Android. We bring in our automotive experiences in terms of how to make Android more automotive grade on a foundational level. And so it made sense. And certainly we see this as an opportunity for the industry to also grab on to this ecosystem. And so I believe in the not do it all by yourself method, right? You need to be selective in where you go and you partner and you leverage the power of others. And this is why we decided to do it this way. And
Magnus, Mercedes is taking a little bit of a different approach in terms of developing its own in-house operating system. What's driving this choice?
Well, I actually need to contribute the name MBOS to our CEO, Ola Källenius. It's a great marketing name, but it's a little bit misleading because it's really a chip-to-cloud architecture that gives us the capability to integrate partners of choice. We call it the local heroes, where I've already mentioned Microsoft and Google for the models on the Western world. We need to have both the capability and the competence to exchange on eye level with our partners. This is, for example, why we have the local heroes in China completely different, right? There we have the ByteDance partnership for the models. Going to other parts of the world, we need to exchange other partners. So it's a very much an open source and a partner-based approach. But where we bring in the significant glue logic, the API level, the cybersecurity definitions, making sure that the DevOps are in-housed so that we can adhere to all of the standards globally. So it's really a capability that is built on how we on eye level integrate with our partners, either on an open source business model or if it is direct IP licensings and collaborations.
Interesting. And Marcus, I'm also interested to know your take on how Hyundai is balancing partnership versus in-house development, and where do you see the balance of control between OEMs and Jaya and big tech?
Yeah, maybe let me start with this. I mean, in general, customers will probably still buy a specific brand, a specific body style, a specific model. But more and more of brand differentiation and customer experience will actually be driven by software and services. And an automotive tech stack is quite comprehensive. I guess, as we know, I mean, there is the vehicle platform, there's the operating system, the software platform, mainly the operating system, then all the applications, whether this is AV stacks, ADAS, infotainment systems, connected car systems. Then we have human-machine interfaces, we have the IT and the back-end system, and then we have the ecosystem, whether this is communications, which is an essential part, or also parking and charging. And here is the point when we talk about, let's say, make or buy or share, right? I think we have, not all of these layers are equally important for differentiation when it comes from a customer point of view, and let's say which are the main elements where we can really make a difference. And there is also not that one layer which is probably the most complicated. It's rather about, let's say, orchestrating the different layers. And this is what I meant when I talked earlier about scalable, decoupled building blocks and managing the interfaces. If you really want, let's say, to run a software business at a massive scale, which much more shorter cycle times, you have to, let's say, manage those interfaces significantly. We take the approach actually coming traditionally from a very much like vertical integration with a lot of, let's say, own value add, to a point where we, for instance, using Android Auto as the operating system of the vehicle. And then we are utilizing the capabilities which we are having. We have at Hyundai an internal tier 1, which develops, for instance, the ADAS systems, the infotainment hardware embedded software systems. We recently, a couple of years, acquired a pure tech company in Korea, 42 Dot, where we added competences such as AI, full stack developers, architects, in order also to bring this overall architecture-driven approach forward. We have companies like Hyundai Connected Mobility, where we're actually focusing on the connected car services, feature on demand, in-car payment, and then we orchestrate this from a clear platform group, which is making sure that all of these different components fit well together on a local and the national scale. And this is, I think, and we now launched our brand Pleos, which is our software brand. The next generation infotainment system going to be launched in Europe next year will be Pleos Connect. And there is also the Pleos Play Store, which adds on what you said, is that we want to open it up, let's say, a whole ecosystem for software developers, tech companies, startups, big tech, to add value to the vehicle overall and really utilize the vehicle as a platform. And for us, it's not becoming the doorman, but more the, let's say, the concierge for the consumer, to making sure that those additional software elements in the vehicle will really be orchestrating well and bringing new value to consumers.
Okay, thank you. And Harry, maybe we talk a little bit about the topic of monetization. Marcus just mentioned that there are so many layers in the software stack, which requires a huge amount of R&D, expenditures, investments. So how are you thinking about in terms of return on all these investments?
It's a great question in terms of the way we think about this, right? Like you said, the investment is in the billions, so it's not cheap. So maybe the best way I can articulate the answer is a petals of many roses, right? It's a petals of many roses. And what do I mean by that? It's not going to be a single thing that's going to really answer the question. It's going to be many, many different layers that feed into the value. And if you are to make a business case on SDV, you will try. You will try. If you want to have a very clear black and white to say, this is a number at the end, I think sometimes we really struggle with that. But ultimately, there are many dimensions. All your operational aspects of your business, all your customer interactions, all your speed and the way you product develop what you do are impacted. So your product development is faster. Your reusability of software is much more available. The way you are engaging with your customer is completely changing, whether it's in terms of just a simple firmware over-the-air update that is much faster and much more impactful, or how much data you're extracting versus a traditional architecture, because a number of data sets available to you from that abstraction provided by enabling technology like SDV is huge, right? And so, and it goes on and on and on and on, because the way we are looking at this value is not by saying it's X billions saved. It's really almost every aspect of your business is impacted by SDV. And if you have that culture and mindset within the company, then it's really it's a matter of just alignment on the outcome.
So it seems like there are a lot of new possible revenue streams that software-defined vehicles unlocked. But staying on this topic, isn't there also a risk maybe that this might become more a commodity or something that customers expect, driver expects to find in a car, features like autonomous driving or personal AI assistant? We've seen BYD in China offering their autonomous driving features for a lot of new models. Isn't there the risk that a lot of these features are going to become hard to monetize because they become more of a commodity going forward? Magnus, what do you think?
Well, competition is a natural element of the business that we're in. And therefore, we just don't see this as a standalone offering. It needs to be a part of the Mercedes-Benz luxury experience. It cannot just be tech for tech's sake, or you're offering it as and marketing it from a tech perspective. That's why we believe this luxury of time, this luxury of ease, unloading the cognitive load, is these additional values that it needs to be enabling. So that is why we see that the real value of the SDV frameworks, the Mercedes-Benz operating system, is exactly to see how is this achieved, or what is the customer actually using. So these technologies, how often and in what situations are we actually seeing the use of these autonomous driving systems in the urban scenario, or on the autobahn or the highways? How many minutes do you actually drive in these calm situations? And that is where we can unlock a feature that we could not measure and see before. So having actually understanding our customers' use cases much better, it's an enormously strong power that we see it has enormous potential to elevate the entire value of the vehicle. Secondly, we also see that this is not only about the first sale, what do you actually get there, but also what is it worth to the second user of the vehicle. So recurring revenue potential within the first user, but also the second user, where you really can add on features that you didn't have as the first driver, the first capability. So that is the second one. Thirdly, standardization of platforms, so that we can really differentiate by software in our offering cases. So how certain competitors are going to price in or not price in technology, that I leave to other analysts to work on. But it gives us enormous possibility to really tailor our Mercedes experience to the individuals.
Great. And same question for you, Marcus. How do you think in terms of monetization, and do you see a difference between different types of customers? For example, BEV battery electric vehicles buyers versus the traditional internal combustion engine buyers?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that as Hyundai, as probably many OEMs, for most of the years we worried about how we are going to sell more cars, and today we probably all worry about what if all we do is selling more cars. A lot of what is happening on the software-defined vehicle is what is happening under the hood, right? So it's not necessarily be perceived by the customer, and why should it be? The main question we have to ask ourselves when we talk about monetization on behalf of our customer is quite simple. So what? What is in there for me? And the answer is probably not more power, more size. It is, let's say, sleek. The ultimate software-defined vehicle is sleek, reduced, and accomplished. And it's thought from a customer point of view. It's about use case and value add. And I think from the point you made with, let's say, offering some of these high-tech like AV stacks as a commodity, you could even apply a different logic. I think it might not even be out of the ordinary in the not too distant world that a state-of-the-art high-tech car is available at a much lower price, but then customers will continue to let's say, activate certain features and functionalities on demand over the entire vehicle life cycle. And now I'm talking about something which is a little bit controversial. Magnus was also touching this point, which is the feature on demand. That is, in this concept, traditionally there are in new cars certain features and functionalities available for customers to pay extra for them. And we all know the story about the heated seats, right? But I think the fundamental difference is if we actually turn it around. So if we are using the technology to bring new features, new functionality, additional value add to old cars, or maybe less provocative cars which are already on the road, right? Not only looking at the brand new car and how can I, let's say, support new vehicle sales, but how can I continuously enhance the customer experience. There are so many smart components in the vehicles, whether this is the battery, the cameras, the electric motors, the detectors, and there can be a lot of new features and functionalities developed through software to bring a new user experience, right? And this will then ultimately, let's say, also help the customer to use their car longer, have a higher resale value, and then gives an option for, let's say, OEMs really to monetize not only by selling more cars or selling higher price trim levels, but really utilizing the vehicle over the lifetime.
Great, thank you. So we're quickly approaching the end of the discussion. I just wanted to have a last question to all three of you. Maybe starting with Harry. Looking at the future, 2030, what is that excites you the most? What is the feature that excites you the most and that is unlocked by software-defined vehicles?
So the feature for me that is unlocking or powered by the software-defined vehicle is the software-defined company. Especially for traditional companies that have been around for 100 years who are hardware companies at the heart, right? So unless you're a startup who started from scratch as a software company, the transformation from a hardware company to a software company is really what I see, where SDV is helping transform every aspect of that business, right? And to get there, because software is the new oil, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many others, that in order to get there, imagine every aspect of your operation must change. And the way it changes is by executing with this enabling technology. So it's not about just software-defined vehicle, it's about software-defined company as well.
Great. Magnus, for you, 30 seconds.
Let me echo that. I think the software-defined vehicle enables really the change of the transformation of the business models. Now we can really have a one-to-one communication, one-to-one interaction with the customers. We see that already now that data is really the new oil, but it's not the oil in the monetary perspective, it's the lubricant. It's the lubricant that makes the definition of the car, it makes the feedback loops. We're going from an open loop to a closed loop feedback system. So it's now it's a B2C company, it's not a B2B company any longer. And that changes the way how the company thinks, how we are defining features, how we're defining business models, how we're defining optimizations, techniques, and so forth. And that is really the revolution that software is bringing to Mercedes-Benz.
And Marcus, for you?
Very clear. I think, let's say, the software-defined vehicle and its beauty is not only limited to the vehicle itself, because it provides the ultimate software-defined vehicle provides a holistic answer on autonomous driving, right? And autonomous driving will reshape on how we move seamlessly and sustainably in cities from A to B, enable complete new door-to-door mobility. It will reshape the way and form cars are being used, and let's say while the race towards level 4 and level 5 autonomous driving is probably one of the most exciting and daunting engineering tasks, but the new use cases which we're evolving will also be huge.
Great. I want to thank you for joining me on stage, and thanks everyone for listening, and I wish you a nice rest of the day at the conference. Thank you.